If I ask you if you've ever been completely exhausted and then you rest and somehow feel worse, would that make sense?
Or you take a day off or a weekend or even a vacation and you come back and nothing's actually better.
You realize your body may have stopped, but your brain hasn't.
And that's not burnout you can fix with rest. That's something else.
Today, we're talking about burnout, but not the kind people usually mean. This is Angry on the Inside. I'm Jess.
And I'm Jeannine. We're both certified ADHD coaches, but this podcast isn't coaching.
Not therapy or medical advice.
It's real, honest conversations about being women with late diagnosed ADHD and everything that goes along with it.
So take what resonates and leave the rest. When we hear others talking about burnout, it's typically through a neurotypical lens. You've been doing too much, so you need to rest.
Right. Take a break, get sleep, drink some water.
And that does work if the issue is physical depletion.
Yeah. ADHD women hit something that looks like burnout, but it's not just that.
It's more like you're exhausted from holding your life together.
It's not just what you're doing, it's how much effort it takes to do anything at all.
I do want to take a moment to sort of circle back on what I mean when I say the neurotypical ones. We are talking about physical depletion, and many times people will say burnout, but we also know the word exhaustion. When we think about exhaustion through a neurotypical lens, we're thinking people can be hospitalized due to exhaustion because their bodies have become depleted. But when we talk about that type of burnout, when we explain that type of exhaustion, that is a type of exhaustion that, what's the word I want to say? I can't find the right word.
Because that is about addressing the physical issues, which are almost easier. That is how you do the take rest or make sure you get enough sleep, make sure you're eating right.
And it's not to dismiss it in any way, because it is very, very serious, but it comes down to that physical depletion. Physical depletion allows you to be able to take physical steps, physically rehydrate, physically rest, and for those things to actually have a positive impact on your body in a very short amount of time.
Don't you feel like intuitively you also know how to take care of that type of burnout? It seems like you know why you feel the way you feel and what you can do about it.
On the ADHD side, it starts getting confused. We start seeing signs that we assume are exhaustion and burnout, but we continue to push well past that. We're used to being able to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to take that vacation day. I'm going to take that doom scrolling day and sit down. But suddenly those things stop working because it's no longer impacting our nervous systems. A pattern many of us see over and over is that we rest our bodies, but we don't stop the mental load.
Even when you're resting, your brain is still tracking, remembering, anticipating, worrying, thinking.
You're holding everything together behind the scenes.
Yeah, you might be laying on the couch relaxing, but your brain is still working overtime.
We don't even realize how much we're carrying until we stop. This is very much likened to getting that late diagnosis and then getting on to medication for the first time. We aren't told when we get that medication that we need to make sure that we are slowing down. So what we actually do is we do all the things that we've been wanting to do and then some. Our brains are going and they are on point and it feels great. But our bodies start to slowly deteriorate around that. This is just part of that pattern. It's part of entering into what is actual ADHD or autistic burnout, which is much, much different than what we think of as a few days rest and getting some electrolytes in our system for a regular neurotypical burnout.
Yeah. I was like, can I add to that? I don't think I can add to it. That was perfect.
This kind of burnout, it usually comes from so much invisible effort.
Yeah. All the stuff that no one sees.
And all the stuff that we don't recognize. Managing time, trying to get things started, trying to stop things, remembering all the things that you forgot all at once while taking care of everybody else's schedules, business, and whatever else they need and all their executive function. Those are the things that we don't count as effort. Those are the things that other people might not see as effort. And yet they are so, so critically real.
And regulating your emotions so you don't snap at anybody. Like your family, your partner, or your kids.
Which is mask. They don't get the mask as much as everybody else does. It's like when you tell your kids that they were always so good when you guys went out, but they were little hellions at home. Same difference. We all want to perform for the masses.
True. this constant desire or need, want, or whatever to stay on top of things. And it's just constant.
That constant inundation, that is key. Most of us know, or most of us feel, I guess, that there is no off switch, or many of us haven't gone searching for that off switch. We either think it doesn't exist or we think we don't deserve it.
But every night I pray to find the off switch. Don't we all?
I don't know. It's one of those things. I know that our brains work more than the average person when we are asleep. But I'm also one of those types of people who has very vivid dreams, though they can be exhausting sometimes. When I wake up and I'm still tired because of the dreams, I still love the fact that I have vivid dreams because some of them can be so freaking cool. It's like 4K level kind of neat. I may complain a little bit, but in turn, I love that part of my ADHD.
Oh, I don't have any dreams. Really, I rarely ever remember my dreams.
That's the same as my husband. He rarely ever remembers his dreams.
But I guess actually sometimes that's nice that it feels like I can. That's the only time I feel like I turn off is when I'm asleep.
Oh, nice.
I joked about there is no off switch for your brain.
The only time I completely shut off would be when I've been put under for surgeries. That is the only time I
Wow.
feel like I'm completely stopped because it's the weirdest thing. I go from being there to not being there to suddenly being in a different space somewhere else. I have no comprehension of time in between those 2 points. That is like the only time where I do not have a conscious understanding of my brain is active or moving or anything like that. That's the only time it feels like it's like completely stopped.
It's crazy. But then you don't feel like if it's surgery, you just remember being awake and then you wake up and it's all over with. Then you're like, well, what happened?
For me, it's like a blank page. It's darkness, black, nothing right there. It's just gone. And to me, that's kind of freaky because I'm a visual thinker. I can see pictures and things in my brain. For that to completely stop, that the first time it ever happened, that kind of freaked me out. The moment that really knocks you over is when the things that usually work completely stop working.
Yeah, it's like your systems totally fall apart. Because, I remember when I used to be able to truly wait to the last moment and somehow get like 8 hours of work done in 2 hours. Then one day suddenly I couldn't. It left me.
It becomes more of like a stress and an anxiety because suddenly it's gone. And it's like that afternoon slump. It just keeps moving itself backwards. We go from losing our energy at 3 to noon to 9 a.m. Next thing we know, we're having trouble literally physically getting out of bed because there's no energy left in the body to pick you up. There's nothing to get you moving anymore.
It takes a while to figure out that's what's going on. You miss the deadline one time. Next time it happens, you're like, oh, I can do this. I used to always do it. For me, I kept thinking that I could do what I did, but I couldn't anymore.
We know the old joke, denial is not just a river. It's absolutely true for me. I can turn a blind eye to what's happening to me physically, and I am not accepting of the fact that I am unable to do the things that I used to do during this time in my life when I was starting to experience this type of burnout, when I was leading up to it and what I see with other women. I don't think you ever get completely past it, but I've at least run the gambit more than once. And I think it's important for all of us to realize burnout can happen more than once in your life. It's not like a one and done kind of thing.
Too, physically, you can keep going, you can handle it, but it's just so different. You could be technically rested, but things still feel so hard. And I think that is really hard.
This is definitely a point where it's not only you being like, what is going on with me? It's you start to notice everybody else being like, what is wrong with you? What is going on? Some of those are kind and considerate because they're worried and concerned, and others are pissed and frustrated because your inability to complete your task, they aren't okay the way it impacts them.
When we talk about late diagnosed ADHD, that tipping point is exactly that. You're struggling. You go from being tired at 3 p.m., you can't get out of bed anymore, you can't hide that. You obviously can't hide that. You used to be able to kind of mask your way through it, but you can't do that anymore. And I do remember my ex, Sonny, walking and being like, you're still in bed? Aren't you going to do anything today? No, I can't.
How soul crushing is that? And be like, there's this person that I love and they don't see the pain that I am in. They don't see.
They just think you're being lazy, and I don't even know what else they're thinking, but they're just like, why aren't you doing something? Why don't you get up?
That's the shitty side of this. Most people who are outside of this bubble, who will not experience this type of burnout, they'll never understand. It's not about sleep. It's not about going to bed on time and doing what you're supposed to do. It literally has like nothing to do with it. That is not the point. Everybody misses the point if they're outside of this bubble of understanding when it comes to ADHD and autistic burnout.
I remember being criticized. We're on vacation. Like, why are you always stressed out? You always get stressed out. And it was like, because you might be on vacation, your body might be resting, but your brain is constantly moving. And especially if you're the mom, you're taking care of everybody. Your brain doesn't stop. You're taking care of everything. You're thinking about what's next. You're worried about what you didn't do, what you should do. Um, are you even vacationing? Maybe you're not.
That's an excellent point. A lot of women, especially with families, do not get to actually vacation. We're all making these amazing memories while mom is making sure that the memories are made. That that is not a one-step process. And I'm not saying that fathers do not carry the load as well, because there are plenty that do. Still, the baseline understanding is that the person who's experiencing this is the person who's not stopping, and they are allowing their brain to compensate for all the other things for way too long. And that's why we push past the physical. That's why we push past the ability to easily fix these situations with a nap or a glass of water. It's not that those things don't help, but at this point, you have to realize that when we look at neurotypical burnout can last a few days up to a few months. The standard time to heal and recover for neurodiverse burnout is 2+ years.
That's insane.
It is, but it is accurate. I've lived it, and I've seen other women in my family live it to look back and realize that I didn't understand what was going on with them. Maybe I wasn't giving them the grace they needed. And some of those came before me, before I was even in the picture. These women were struggling with all these terrible things, and there was no one to look out, no one to help. And I hate in my heart how much it must suck to have been so alone. We still find ourselves alone now, but women of previous generations, they did exist. It's not like they didn't exist. They were there.
There's a lot of self-medication going on back in the 50s and 60s, if not
There was,
earlier.
but it was needed. Those women wouldn't have gotten through that shit if they didn't have it.
Your brain, it never stops. You're the one who's on active duty. You're the one trying to bridge that gap.
You are. You're bridging that gap between what your life actually requires of you and what your brain can naturally do.
And that gap is exhausting.
God, it is. That's hard to say out loud, the rest making it worse.
Mm-hmm.
When you're coming up on burnout, and that's something many people don't understand what that actually feels like, because we're trying not to feel. We're intellectualizing everything that is coming towards us. And we do that until our body catches up with us. We can talk about the body keeps the score, but at the end of the day, if you do not stop, your body will make you stop.
I get the thing about the stopping where you're in the middle of something and they say, take a 20-minute break every hour. But once I stop, it makes it really hard for me to start up again.
Yes.
So if I stop, not only is everything not getting done, it feels like it makes it even harder to pick it back up, which I know is not healthy. I'm not saying it's healthy.
It gets scary. We're sitting here talking and we're saying, okay, well, if I stop, then I can't get started again. But if I start, then I can't stop again. We're such conundrum.
You can't stop because you have all this, everything to do. I feel like you're in the same spot. You won't stop because all the stuff you have to do and you can't prioritize. You can't figure out how to tackle everything. You keep spinning your wheels. How do I start again? Where do I prioritize? What do I pick up first? You go from doing half-ass stuff to nothing. I don't know. It is. We are conundrums. That's why you love us.
We are a conundrum because we talk about black and white thinking, but we are all over the place so much of the time. I'd seen I guess it wasn't a meme, but it was on Pinterest yesterday. The first 2 rules about ADHD is an ADHD person in motion tends to stay in motion, and an ADHD person at rest tends to stay at rest.
Oh my God. So true.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying we're such a conundrum, because it's absolutely true. This is why we are all constantly saying, does that make sense? We're like, hey, does this happen to you too? I'm just checking in.
It goes back to when you do stop, the brain doesn't stop. For me, my brain it's never relaxed. It's always got something going on.
I'd suggested it to several people lately about learning how to calm yourself down, how to take yourself out of fight and flight, how to be in rest and digest, which rest and digest is a biggie that nobody talks about. Everybody says fight or flight, but we never want to talk about rest and digest, which is the flip side of that coin and how to get us there. And I've had several people be like, those things actually ended up working. I really didn't think they were going to work, but I did try it. And it did actually work. That one book we've talked about, Why Woo Woo Works, it cites so many different studies from so many different places. Many of them come down to the autonomic nervous system, learning to calm ourselves, to pay attention to your breathing and working on the amount of things that you're doing, the amount of tasks, understanding what's realistic for your body. You can work towards these things,
Yeah.
but mentally and emotionally, when you're in this space, you have reached such a deep tissue tired. It is so hard to recognize what is actually going on. We're also scared about what it actually means for it to be happening.
It is a different tired. It's not, and I've always thought being psychologically tired is, I'd prefer to be physically tired. I guess because you feel like you know what you need to do, but that deep down in your bones exhaustion is, yeah, as you said, like we don't know what to do with it. It's kind of scary.
Janine and I always try to lighten situations and talk about these things, but we all know we're very serious about it. We know that many times it's a laugh to keep from crying situation for so many of us. These are the points where you might find yourself scream crying. You can feel so lost. You can feel misunderstood, like you're losing your autonomy. And honest to goodness, these types of things, they put you in a wheelchair. It's important to talk about. When you finally realize that the knee-jerk reaction is that you want a quick fix. We say, if I just knew how to fix this. And then people tell us steps to start taking to fix it. And we're like, well, no, that's not it. Because obviously that's not a quick fix. It's not going to work.
No, yeah, there's no such thing as a quick fix. It took you a long time to get there. Sadly, it'll take you a long time to get back.
That is truth. You have to recognize yourself as a priority. This is the end result of not making yourself a priority, is this level of burnout. And you have to relearn everything. It's so hard and you get so angry at yourself. You're angry because you kept pushing. You're angry at yourself because you didn't push enough. You're angry at your body because it's not doing what the fuck you think it should be able to do. And you're angry at your brain because now you're not at that level that you feel like it used to be at. You can't pull it out of your ass anymore. Some of us are like, oh, it's because I'm getting older. And then we start to have these issues about getting older and freaking out about that. But that's not it. We all have to learn how to put ourselves first and to love ourselves and learn how to actually listen to ourselves, not assume what we should be doing.
What makes it harder when you have ADHD too is you've been trying so hard to hide that. You've been masking. You've been acting like you've got it all going on, maybe convinced other people. And suddenly you fall apart. They fall apart. The family falls apart. You said it takes a long time to get back to it. And when you get back to it, it's got to be different. You can't do things the way you used to do. You got to start doing them differently. And some of those lessons, I know for me, are really hard to unlearn because I was so used to, what do you mean I can't? Yeah, I've got to find my mask. I got to put it back on. I've got to continue to act like, oh no, I was tired for a couple of years, but now I'm back and I've got everything back together.
It's like being an addict. It's a completely unsustainable lifestyle. And that's why there's a real good chance you're going to go through burnout more than once because we relapse. It happens. We get to feeling a little bit better. We think we're in line and we fall back into bad habits. That doesn't mean we should be thinking less of ourselves. It's a case of understanding and embracing that we do have addictive personalities in many, many ways. This is another layer of unpredictability and that hyper focus and that hyper independence. These are just different layers that pack on, and the end result is the burnout. Keep in mind, a lot of times when this is happening, we are also experiencing other major life events. We might be getting divorced, may have lost a loved one. We may be dealing with addictions such as drugs, alcoholism. It's a scary space to be in, but I swear you're not alone. Let's talk about the back end of it. What it feels like to start coming out of overwhelm, coming out of that sort of fog.
You finally found the planner.
No, it was the life-changing water bottle. If Awala wants to be a sponsor, we love you. You are a life-changing
It is a
water
life-changing. That is true. It did make a difference in my life.
Me too. No joke. I love that fucking water bottle.
New water bottle, new planner, you're good. You just tried a little harder. Wait, isn't that what that got us here in the first place? If you've been feeling this, like rest isn't even touching the exhaustion you're feeling.
you're not doing rest wrong.
And that is so important to remember.
There's a real good possibility that you are dealing with this different type of burnout that we've discussed today.
One that comes from trying to hold everything together in a world that wasn't built for our brains.
It doesn't matter what form of life you're coming from. You might be dealing with the type of burnout we've discussed today. If this episode felt a little too familiar, we're hoping it gave you the language to describe how you're feeling. If it did, pass it along to someone else so they can see your perspective.
Until next time, remember, you're not alone and you're not the only one who's angry on the inside.